This is the May-June 2017 issue of the BVA Bulletin, Volume 72, Number 3. The current national president of the Blinded Veterans Association is Dale Stamper of Hayden, Idaho. Joe Parker of Pisgah Forest, North Carolina, is the national vice president. Paul Mims of Kansas City, Missouri, occupies the position of national secretary, and BVA's national treasurer is Joseph McNeil of Columbus, Georgia. The district directors from 1 to 6 are as follows: Dennis O'Connell of Long Beach, New York, representing District 1. David Fox of Kettering, Ohio, the District 2 director. Vernon Richmond of Haw River, North Carolina, directing District 3. And Genesee Amaro of Gilbert, Arizona, the director from District 4. Paul Kaminsky of Middleburg, Florida, represents District 5, while Dr. Thomas Zampieri of Pearland, Texas, serves the BVA membership in District 6. Mark Cornell of San Antonio, Texas, continues as the association's immediate past national president. Additional appointed officers are Charles Brooks of Kissimmee, Florida, national chaplain; Monica Gilmore of Rocky Mount, North Carolina, the national sergeant-at-arms; Joe Burns of New Orleans, Louisiana, and Dr. Donald Gagliano of National Harbor, Maryland, are both honorary members of the association's board of directors. Blinded Veterans Association auxiliary officers consist of the following: President Sandy Krasnodemsky of Allen Park, Michigan; Vice President Edna Kirksey Dixon of Bay Minette, Alabama; Secretary Benjamin Holmes of Midland, Georgia; and Treasurer Carl Heitenen of Seekonk, Massachusetts. Pam Hogan of Canyon Country, California, is the designated auxiliary reporter and the author of this issue's Auxiliaries View column. BVA's national headquarters staff members are Executive Director Al Avina, Administrative Director Bridget Jones, National Field Service Program Director Edward Eckroth, and Chief Financial Officer Kathy Rouet. The Director of Government Relations is Melanie Brunson. The National Field Service Training Coordinator is Wade Davis. Christina Hitchcock is the Manager of Projects and Conventions, while the Manager of Communications and BVA Bulletin Editor is Stuart Nelson. The Human Resource Specialist for the headquarters is Chrissy Spence Gilbert, and the Membership Coordinator is Cecilia Montenegro. BVA's full-time National Field Service Resource Center staff members are Wanda Grover, Richard Lane, Patrick Johnson, Hallie Smith, and Asiya Kadri. BVA National Headquarters is currently located at 125 Northwest Street, Alexandria, Virginia, 22314. Each full-time headquarters staff member can be reached by dialing 202-371-8880 or toll-free 1-800-669-7079, and by then following prompts that connect the caller to the correct department and individual. Email communication will be forwarded to the appropriate recipient when sent through BVA's general email address, bva@bva.org. The organization's combined federal campaign number remains 10513. The BVA Bulletin is published bi-monthly by and for all blinded veterans. There is no charge to receive the print version of the publication, which is available upon request of the national headquarters to any interested individual or organization. Requests for multiple copies will be honored whenever possible. An audio compact disc version is mailed to annual and life members upon specific request. The audio version is similarly accessible via the BVA website. Contents of this issue of the Bulletin are represented by the following major headings: Legislative Update by Melanie Brunson, President's Page by Dale Stamper, Anticipation Surging for Jacksonville Gathering by Chelsea Dumont, Administrative Reminders for BVA Regional Groups, Home Automation Comes into Its Own by Paul Mims, Blinded Veterans, BVA, recognized on March 28th, Gemini, World War I Anniversary Unite Blinded Vets in D.C. by Dale Stamper, BVA members demonstrate vibrancy of human spirit by Tim Hornick, Destination San Jose for Blind Hockey by Bruce Porter Jr., Around BVA, Auxiliaries View by Pam Hogan, Happenings in District 2 by David Fox, Of Note, Letters to the Editor, In Remembrance, and The Final Thought. One of the highlights of the May-June 2017 issue of the Bulletin is its cover, a bright and colorful evening depiction of the downtown area of a city. The foreground consists of a body of water with a bridge from which blue lights emanate. The water also reflects the blueness of the lights. Numerous tall buildings fill the background, the most noticeable of which are 3 bank buildings: Everbank, SunTrust, and Wells Fargo. In each case, the name of the bank is visible in bright lights near the very top of the building. Below the photo on the cover, against a dark blue background and in white lettering, the following text is centered on 2 lines. BVA 72nd National Convention, August 14 to 18, 2017. The caption describing the photo found on page 2 below the list of the issue's contents reads as follows. Downtown Jacksonville, Florida, site of the BVA 72nd National Convention, is the urban hub of Northeast Florida and home to hundreds of unique entertainment options both day and night. This issue of the Bulletin offers a preview of this year's gathering. Photo courtesy of Ryan Ketterman for Visit Jacksonville and the Beaches. Legislative update by Melanie Brunson. Melanie's legislative update comes accompanied by 3 photos, all relatively small ones. They are located on the same page so that they could all 3 be printed in color, since only the first 4 and last 4 pages of the publication contain color photos. The first of the 3 photos is the customary thumbnail image of a formally dressed Melanie Brunson at the beginning of her column. Wearing dark glasses, she is facing straight ahead with a serious look. There is no caption with this photo. The second of the 3 photos reveals a lady seated in a chair between 2 gentlemen who are wearing BVA service caps. Both men are also wearing their pocket name badges. The man on the right, who is smiling broadly, is wearing the badge around his neck, while the other man has his attached to his suit coat pocket. In the lap of the lady rests a plaque that contains a Braille flag. Her serious look communicates the possibility that she is listening intently to something being discussed. The caption states, BVA presented Representative Julia Brownlee, Democrat, California, District 26, with the organization's Legislative Champion Award, March 21st, for her extra-mile efforts that resulted in successful passage of beneficiary travel legislation last fall. Pictured left and right, Paul Mims and Dale Stamper. The last of the 3 legislative update photos is a group shot of 13 individuals, 12 of whom are veterans and 11 of whom are blinded veterans. They are lined up side by side in the photo in front of what appears to be a marble wall. There are 3 women, 6 white canes, and 3 guide dogs within the group. The caption reads thus. Led by Melanie Brunson, far right, with guide dog Sparta, members of the BVA Board of Directors and headquarters staff gathered in the Hart Senate Office Building atrium following organization's annual testimony March 22nd. Back row, left to right, Joe Burns, Mark Cornell, Joe Parker, guide dog Josie, Paul Kaminsky, Jeremiah Belk, Dale Stamper, Joe McNeil, Paul Mims, guide dog Brooklyn, Vernon Richmond, and Wade Davis. Front row, Genesee Amaro and Claudia Belk. The text of the legislative update begins with the following. Funding increases for vision research. I am pleased to begin this update with news of another legislative victory for BVA and our friends in the vision research community. The spending bill that Congress approved and sent to the President for his signature on May 4th included an appropriation of $15 million for the vision research program that is managed by the Department of Defense. This is a much-needed increase. BVA and officials of the National Alliance for Eye and Vision Research have been working to obtain an increase from $10 to $15 million for almost 2 years. We are pleased to see the change in funding levels for this research. The spending bill that was passed also gives the National Institutes of Health an increase of 6.2%, which includes an increase of 2.33% for the National Eye Institute's research program. We are hopeful that these funding levels will be continued as Congress begins work on funding government programs for fiscal year 2018, which starts October 1st of this year. At press time, that prospect appeared promising. We will stay in contact with congressional offices to ensure that these funding levels remain intact in the appropriations for next year. Process modernization for appeal of claims. One of the hot topics within the House and Senate Committees on Veteran Affairs is modernizing the process for appealing claims for benefits within the Veterans Benefits Administration. Members of both the House and Senate want the current 5-year waiting period for the processing of appeals to be shortened and made much less complex. Members of both parties have introduced legislation, the Veterans Appeals Improvement and Modernization Act of 2017, to update and shorten that process. Here's a brief snapshot of the proposed legislation, which creates 3 options for veterans dissatisfied with the initial decision on their claims. The legislation would allow veterans to do the following. Seek a higher-level review by a VA regional office on the same evidence presented to the original claims processors. File a supplemental claim with a regional office that would include the opportunity to submit additional evidence. Appeal directly to the Board of Veterans' Appeals, resulting in a possible hearing and/or the opportunity to submit additional evidence. The legislation would Help ensure that current pending appeals are acted upon as quickly as possible. Require the U.S. Government Accountability Office to review VA's plans for addressing pending appeals and implementing the new appeals system. Give VA the authority to test facets of the new appeals system on a smaller scale. Require the current VA Secretary to certify to Congress that the Department has the necessary resources to implement the new system. Address pending and new appeals in a timely manner before the new system can take effect. Require VA to report data regarding the previous system and the new system in order to gauge its success in serving veterans, their families, and their survivors. To ensure that veterans will be better served by the new system, the Veterans Appeals Improvement and Modernization Act of 2017 will protect the effective date of a benefits award by dating back to the original filing of the claim if a veteran files a supplemental claim after a decision has been made by the Court of Appeals for Veterans. Allow VA to develop policies permitting veterans to modify information in their notices of disagreement if they appeal to the Board of Veterans' Appeals or change the option they initially selected. Require VA to provide expedited treatment for claims that are returned or remanded to the Veterans Benefits Administration for correction of error. And ensure that independent medical expert opinions can still be obtained by VA in medically complex cases. Both the House and Senate versions of these bills have the same title. The bill number in the House is H.R. 2288, while the number in the Senate is S. 712. We anticipate that the VA committees may try to put these bills on a fast track. Please check the BVA website for further updates on their progress. We'll give you an update in the next bulletin as well. VA Accountability and Trump Executive Order. On April 27th, President Trump visited VA Central Office. While there, he signed an executive order creating an Office of Accountability and Whistleblower Protection within the department that will focus on improving VA's accountability for providing quality care to veterans. The order also seeks to reward and protect those who help to shed light on accountability issues, i.e., whistleblowers. According to the Office of Senate Committee on Veterans Affairs Chairman Johnny Isakson, Republican of Georgia, the order mirrors a proposal in Chairman Isakson's Veterans First Act, introduced in the last Congress. It calls for the appointment of an executive director to get the office up and running within 45 days of the signing of the order. Isakson accompanied the president at the signing. We expect that additional information will be made public over the course of the next 45 days as to what this office will actually do, either through policies implemented by VA Secretary David Shulkin's office, the White House, or through actions by Congress. Sunset date eliminated for Veterans Choice Program. By virtue of the Veterans Choice Program Improvement Act passed in early April, both the House and Senate have removed the date on which the Veterans Choice Program was scheduled to end. The program will now continue until the original funding has been expended rather than comply with a statutory sunset date. Quote, by eliminating the sunset date of the Choice Act, Congress is ensuring that veterans have certainty and continuity of care while we work with the Trump administration to develop a strategic plan that addresses the need for a veteran-centric, coordinated network of care that utilizes the strengths of both VA and community health providers, said House Committee Chairman Dr. Phil Rowe, Republican, Tennessee District 1. Among other things, the Choice Program allows veterans to increase the participation of their own private sector doctors in providing for their health care needs. President Trump signed the bill into law on April 19th. American Health Care Act. Our readers may be interested in information about the potential impact of legislation passed recently by the House to revamp the federal government's role with regard to health insurance. On May 4th, the House passed the American Health Care Act. That bill must also be approved by the Senate before it can become law. However, at this time, Senate leaders have indicated that they intend to write their own bill and have no plans to take up the bill sent to them by the House. As a result, we do not anticipate any changes to the status quo for some time. As the situation develops, we will update you on this issue. President's Page by Dale Stamper. 2 photos are provided with this issue's President's Page. One is the usual thumbnail, head and shoulders photo of a smiling Dale Stamper dressed in a light-colored shirt and tie. There is no caption. The second photo reveals a side view of 2 gentlemen observing and touching the mouth and cheek on a statue of a woman looking up toward the sky far above. The gentleman who is most visible is carrying a bag containing a replica of the design of the British flag. Trees and a few younger-looking individuals are visible in the background. The caption states, Blind Veterans UK President Colin Williamson and Dale Stamper touch and reflect on the symbolism of the Vietnam Women's Memorial, situated adjacent to the memorial's wall. The action portrayed in the first of the three statues is said to depict faith, the second hope, and the third charity. The verbal content of the President's page begins as follows. The Future and BVA. Many years ago, I enjoyed reading a newspaper advice column. One does not have to go too far back in time to remember the popularity of Ann Landers. A lady wrote asking for Ann's opinion about a decision to attend college. Since she was 60 years old at the time, the lady soliciting advice questioned the wisdom of such an undertaking. She reasoned that she would be 64 years old when she graduated and wondered if a 4-year commitment to get a degree was really wise. The columnist gave a very shrewd reply, asking how old the lady would be in 4 years if she didn't go to college. Of course, the answer was that she would still be 64 years old. There are actually 2 lessons in this short piece of advice. One is that we cannot stop time. It will pass no matter what we do with it. The other lesson is that we can and should plan for the future, notwithstanding the obstacles or the reasons we may come up with that argue against doing so. During our recent National Board of Directors meetings at national headquarters, one of those with whom we were meeting asked us where we envisioned BVA in the future. I've been thinking about that question for the past month. Where will we actually be in the next 5, 10, 15, or 25 years? Surely we will soon reach these milestones regardless of how we approach them as an organization. Time has a way of creeping up on us, and for us within the older set, the milestones will come sooner rather than later. BVA, like many veterans service organizations, is losing membership steadily because of our aging veteran population. As a result, many regional groups are struggling to find leaders to keep the groups functioning and vital. Therefore, we must evaluate where we are and where we will be in the future. During the first week of April, 4 BVA members and 4 members of Blind Veterans UK came together in the Washington, D.C. area to commemorate the 100th anniversary of World War I. The exchange was conducted under the auspices of Project Gemini. In a few short days, we visited several venues in order to participate in discussions about battlefield injuries, treatment, and rehabilitation. The group was also invited by the Arlington, Virginia Veterans of Foreign Wars Post for dinner one evening. It was a most interesting experience. Several members of the Post, which included Vietnam veterans as well as those much younger, actually prepared the dinner. Adding our group to the mix made it a diverse one, most notably the presence of female veterans from all 3 groups. We all connected because of the camaraderie that comes from being veterans. I feel strongly that BVA must begin to appreciate its diversity, becoming more inclusive if we recognize any degree of exclusivity within the organization. We must focus on special interest groups that enjoy outdoor activities, sports and recreation, or indoor activities such as games and crafts. Another group out there includes those interested in pursuing careers or owning their own businesses. The common thread, however, is that we will always be blinded veterans. In approximately 27 years, BVA will begin celebrating its 100th anniversary. Many of us may not be around then. To me, this latter fact is not so important. What is most important is to leave a strong and lasting legacy of service to our nation's blinded veterans. Therefore, let us make every effort to reach out to veterans of every generation and background. As a postscript to our memorable week in Washington with our British friends, Tom Zampieri has informed me that Dr. Renata Gomes, the Director of Research and Innovation at Blind Veterans UK, who also spent the week with us, has been invited to chair part of the World Health Summit in March 2018 and asked specifically to develop the following main topic: setting the basis for healthcare and innovation after armed conflict. Tom mentioned to me that Dr. Gomes hopes to ask some of our Project Gemini contacts in both countries to also speak at the summit, with a panel discussion at the end with everyone together. This interesting development comes after the commander of Walter Reed National Military Medical Center told us that he, quote, welcomed our visit, end quote, as he addressed us the day we were there. Add to that the interest of British Embassy Major General Richard Quipwell, who spoke about us with UK Surgeon General Admiral Alistair Walker, with whom the Project Gemini group met in England 2 weeks later. Our Project Gemini exchanges are indeed making a difference as we bring to light the vast prevalence and significance of military eye injuries, traumatic brain injury, vision rehabilitation, and vision research. Anticipation Surging for Jacksonville Gathering by Chelsea Dumond. 2 photos related to the upcoming Jacksonville Convention accompany this major section of the BVA Bulletin. The first of the 2 has some resemblance to the cover shot, except that this photo has been taken during the day and is less panoramic than the cover. At the forefront is a large motorized passenger boat that appears to seat some 50 persons at a time. The seating is on large benches. In the background, once again, is the same bridge noted earlier. The aforementioned Wells Fargo Bank building is also clearly visible. The caption reads, "Waterway Transit via St. John's River Taxi provides downtown transportation to and from the Hyatt Regency Riverfront Hotel, Friendship Fountain, and the stadium. The service runs continuously and loops every 30 to 35 minutes. It also offers cruises." Photo courtesy of Ryan Ketterman for Visit Jacksonville and the Beaches. The second photo is a daytime shot of the side of a building. Next to the building are at least 2 large trees that provide considerable shade and shadows. The trees also give the impression that the area is peaceful. An entrance to the building, which appears to be a restaurant, is also visible. 2 chairs are situated in front of the trees. The caption describes the photo as follows. Convention attendees in search of a mix of historic neighborhood homes, quaint shops, and unique dining options may wish to visit the Avondale neighborhood along the banks of the St. Johns River. Photo courtesy of Greg Downing for Visit Jacksonville and the Beaches. The text of the write-up begins thus. The BVA 72nd National Convention, slated for August 14 to 18, 2017, is fast approaching. As always, numerous details are needed in order for our attendees to begin planning their trips and week-long stays in the great city of Jacksonville, Florida. First and foremost, the member registration packet is currently available for download on the BVA website. It can also be sent by postal mail by request using BVA's toll-free 800-669-7079. The deadline to register is Friday, July 14th. The room rate at the Hyatt Regency Jacksonville Riverfront for BVA members is $91 per night plus tax. Rooms are filling up quickly. Please reserve yours by calling 904-588-1234. The BVA rate is being offered August 11th to 21st based on availability. Several education sessions to be held Monday, August 14 and Tuesday, August 15 are entirely new. We're especially pleased to have BVA members leading these sessions. National Secretary Paul Mims, for example, will be leading a discussion on home automation, while Mark Armstrong from the Georgia Regional Group will share his knowledge on deaf-blind communication skills and technology. Larry Bustetter of the Southern California Regional Group will lead 3 intriguing sessions: dealing with change to vision impairment, overcoming communication challenges for the visually impaired, and the ABCs of strategic planning for regional groups. The exhibit hall, sponsored this year by LS&S and Freedom Scientific AI Squared Optelec, will be open August 15 to 16. We have several exciting exhibitors already lined up for this year. Designs for Vision will be returning, along with Eschenbach Optik, Hadley Institute for the Blind and Visually Impaired, the National Library Service, Polera, Sprint, the VA Office of Research and Development, and YCAB. We also welcome a brand new exhibitor, Tampa Lighthouse for the Blind. For blinded veterans and their families who have contemplated obtaining a service dog, Fidelco Guide Dog Foundation, Guide Dogs for the Blind, and Guiding Eyes for the Blind will all be in attendance. BVA National Headquarters will once again have a convention claims office on site Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday to check the status of VA claims, assist with new ones, and provide guidance on gathering the necessary information in order to file them. We wish to provide extra service to you and expand our one-stop shop for your convenience. We'll be accepting appointments before the convention. If you're interested in making one, please contact Wade Davis at wdavis@bva.org or call him at 202-371-8880, extension 308. Planned off-site trips include a baseball game to see the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp, the AA Southern League affiliate of the Miami Marlins, and a tour of the Anheuser-Busch Brewery. We encourage family members and guests to take an airboat ride with Josh Schrut of Crazy Fish Tours, as recommended by Mike Taylor of the Florida Regional Group. The Jacksonville area also offers great opportunities for a round of golf or exploration of the city through the Jack's Ale Trail to sample the local breweries. Advertisements are still being accepted for the 2017 BVA Convention Program Booklet that will be provided to each convention attendee. Regional groups, other veterans service organizations, and organizations of and for the blind are encouraged to place an ad. Individuals can also share a personalized message with their fellow blinded veterans. Program ads are a great way to show your support and encouragement for all those attending the convention. Regional groups will receive a special discounted rate of $100 on all full-page ads. In addition to the print version, we intend to offer the booklet in an electronic format this year with Voice Eye so that it can be emailed or downloaded from the website for use after the convention. When creating your advertisement, please keep in mind that it will need to be produced on 14-point font or larger with a minimum half-inch margin around the border. Ads may also be created by BVA National Headquarters for an additional fee. For a full list of advertising and sponsorship opportunities, visit bva.org or contact BVA National Headquarters to receive information via postal mail. All advertisements are due by June 14th and should be paid for in the form of a check made out to the BVA 72nd National Convention. If you have any questions or are interested in purchasing advertisement space in the convention book, please contact Christina Hitchcock, CHITCHCOCK at bva.org, or Chelsea Dumond, CDUMOND at bva.org. Send in your registration and make your hotel reservations today. We're excited to see you and celebrate together 72 years of blinded veterans helping blinded veterans. 2017 Convention Schedule. Please note that changes may occur prior to the convention. Monday, August 14th, Welcome and Agenda Review, Volunteer Service Officer Training, Education Sessions, Leadership Training, Evening Trip to Baseball Game. Tuesday, August 15th, Welcome and Agenda Review, Volunteer Service Officer Training, Education Sessions, Leadership Training, Exhibit Hall open to all, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Rules and Credentials Committee Meeting, President's Reception included in the registration fee. Wednesday, August 16, Opening Session with Keynote Speaker and VA, state, and local officials. Opening Business Meeting, Exhibit Hall open to all, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Field Service Update, Legislative Update, Bylaws and Resolutions Meeting, Special Interest Group Meetings, Service Dog Users, Women Veterans. Thursday, August 17th, BVA Forum, Father Carol Luncheon, included in registration fee, Officer Candidate Speeches, District Caucus Meetings. Friday, August 18, Closing Business Meeting with Bylaws and Resolutions, Elections, Updates on Future Conventions. Afternoon Trip to Anheuser-Busch Brewery, Leadership Training Session, Awards Banquet. Administrative reminders for BVA regional groups. 2 additional convention-related photos accompany this main section of the BVA Bulletin. The first is a 90-degree angle picture of a large food truck that appears to be open for business. 5 younger-looking persons and a small child are seen standing to the left of the truck, 3 of whom are interacting with one another. The 4th has his back turned and appears to be walking away from the truck with the same young male child. Folding chairs are set up in the distant background. The caption reads, "Located in the heart of downtown Jacksonville, Hemming Park covers one city block that includes 2 fountains, Imagination Playground, Hemming Cafe, and 3 stages. A short walk from the Hyatt Regency, it is an ideal place for convention attendees to unwind and enjoy the outdoors downtown." Photo courtesy of Ryan Ketterman for Visit Jacksonville and the Beaches. The second photo is a side view of a modern-looking building that could house a restaurant or a small shop. Cars are parked in front of the building on a 45-degree angle. Cabbage palm trees are seen in both the foreground and background. From the side of a lamp post in the front left of the photo hangs a small rectangular sign that says Town Center. The photo is described as follows. Beach's Town Center in Atlantic Beach is a hotspot known for casual and upscale dining, diverse shopping options, and excellence in nightlife activities. Photo courtesy of Visit Jacksonville and the Beaches. The text of this section begins, Administrative Director Bridget Jones has issued the following critical reminders in preparation for the business meetings of the Association's 72nd National Convention. Successful seating and voting privileges at the meetings depend on regional group compliance with the requirements and guidelines. Good standing requirements. Article 14 of the BVA National Bylaws outlines the criteria by which regional groups are deemed in good standing for national conventions. Groups must accordingly accomplish the following. 1. Meet at least once during the BVA fiscal year, July 1 to June 30, and submit a copy of the minutes to national headquarters within 60 days of such meetings. Section 13A. 2. Submit an annual financial statement to the Administrative Director on forms provided for that purpose no later than September 30, 3 months following the end of the fiscal year 2017. Regional group officers should review the status of their groups to ensure that the aforementioned requirements have been met. Doing so will ensure that all BVA delegations are appropriately seated at the convention. Delegates, alternates, credentials forms. Article 14 of the BVA National Bylaws specifies that all regional groups intending to send a delegate to Jacksonville must also hold a meeting to elect and instruct the individual. Groups need to inform all of their members in good standing, in writing, of the date, time, location, and purpose of the meeting no later than July 6, 2017. Notice of the meeting must be distributed to the regional group members no fewer than 10 days prior to the regional group meeting. A copy of the notice must be forwarded to BVA National Headquarters at the same time the notice is distributed to the members. Failure to do so will render the group's delegation unable to receive seating at the convention. A set of official BVA credentials forms was mailed in triplicate on orange paper to all regional group officers on April 21st. The credentials form must also be completed in triplicate, which includes a signature and dating of the signature by both the regional group president and regional group secretary. One copy should be provided to the elected delegate. A second copy must be mailed to BVA National Headquarters and postmarked no later than July 25, 2017. A third copy should be placed in the regional group files. Regional groups must also elect alternate delegates to the National Convention at the same meeting. In addition, each regional group to be represented should elect a representative to the Bylaws and Resolutions Committee. The representative's name should be placed in the appropriate blank at the bottom of the second page of the credentials form. Proxy forms. In accordance with Section 2C of Article 9, the proxy form must be completed and returned to BVA National Headquarters. Attention Administrative Director. To be considered valid, the envelope containing the form must be postmarked no later than 21 days before the opening date of the convention. The due date is therefore July 25, 2017. Home Automation Comes into Its Own by Paul Mims. Blinded veterans can most certainly benefit from the use of an emerging category of systems that use voice commands to control one's home. The control is accomplished by wireless switches and plug receptacles that interface with well-known systems, such as Alexa with Amazon Echo or Echo Dot, Google Now with Google Home, and Siri with the Apple HomeKit, which one can use an iPhone and or iPad for voice input portals. By a voice command, I can turn the lights on and off. I can also dim and brighten lights throughout the house from wherever I happen to be located within it. I can control lamps and plug in appliances and even my coffee pot by voice. Imagine waking up and giving the command, "Turn on coffee pot." To take it a bit further, these systems allow me to control not just lights but also door locks, a garage door, a thermostat, ceiling fans, and other appliances in the home. Think of being able to close your drapes in the evening by voice command. Such control can be an effective component of a home security system. The potential exists to use my voice to activate and disarm my alarm system, as well as to lock and unlock entry and garage doors. At the center of the system is a hub that routes the commands to the correct device. All of the component hardware is connected wirelessly among the parts via Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, or other wireless technology. I have such a system in my home, and I use the Amazon Echo as my voice input portal. To expand my voice input coverage beyond a central point and room, I use Echo Dot. The Echo devices all work together without interference. Another option is to expand command input capability using remotes available to sync with any of the Echo family of devices. My system started out with control of the front door lock, a couple of lights, activation of the alarm system, and control of the garage door. I have added control of additional lights indoors, as well as outdoor lighting control and control of motorized drapes and shades. I can turn on my entertainment system, including my television. I can also change TV channels and switch to Apple TV, all using voice. Another feature of these systems is the capability of creating what are called scenes. For instance, my good night scene turns off all lights, the television, and the ceiling fan. It also goes through the sequences involved in locking the front door, the garage door, and setting the alarm. I have to set up other scenes to cover additional events. I set up my system in stages, adding as I desired more features. Systems can vary, of course, depending on the range and scope of control desired, the number of control switches and outlets used, and the addition of wireless door lock systems, which are becoming more numerous and less expensive. Although blind rehabilitation centers are issuing iPhones, iPads, and Echo Dots to veterans, they're not issuing home automation accessories, nor are such systems available through the VA Special Adaptive Housing Grant. As electronics improve and expand their capabilities, well-written justifications may be accepted in the future. To find out more about devices or systems for home control, search on Amazon.com, Google.com, and Apple.com to compare the features of the options. As a starting point, accessories from other vendors are available at Home Depot and Best Buy. Blinded Veterans and BVA recognized on March 28th. Two small pictures have been included with this Blinded Veterans Day story. The first reveals a formally dressed gentleman holding up a document. The content of the document is not visible in the photo. The same man is accompanied by 3 blinded veterans to his right and 3 also to his left, all of whom are holding white canes that are visible to one extent or another. The gentlemen to the far left and right are holding up the ends of a large banner that extends horizontally across the lower profiles of 5 of the 7 persons in the photo. All of the blinded veterans are dressed somewhat differently, casual in a couple of cases, coat and tie in a couple of others, and military fatigues in one other one. The banner contains the name of the Blinded Veterans Association, the logo, the website URL, the phrase, "Serving Blinded Veterans Since World War II," and the words, "Georgia Regional Group." The photo caption states, Governor Nathan Deal Center displays a state proclamation designating March 28th as Blinded Veterans Day in Georgia. Governor Deal is flanked left to right by Corey Keith, John Gutman, Jesse Jones, Johnny Bush, Norman Jones, and Dennis Darnes. Photo courtesy of Governor Nathan Deal. The second image, taken directly in front of the photo subjects, shows 2 gentlemen walking together side by side. The one on the left is wearing a sweater. The one on the right is wearing a name badge around his neck. Both have faint smiles. In the background are 2 additional individuals who are not sufficiently visible to identify. The caption reads, Blinded veteran James Jackson, front left, takes on much heralded VA Medical Center walk with companionship of VA volunteer Bill McCracken. The events of the day are recounted as follows. State and local government proclamations, meetings with government officials, luncheons, television news spots, and special walks all commemorated National Blind Veterans Day and the founding of the Blinded Veterans Association on March 28, 1945. Late last year, National Secretary Paul Mims became personally motivated by Public Law 111-156, enacted in 2010 by the 111th Congress, with 2 resolutions that designated March 28th as National Blinded Veterans Day. He began petitioning BVA's regional groups and VA blind rehabilitation personnel to recognize the day in 2017. He then offered a number of suggestions. The response surpassed even Paul's hopes and expectations. Our regional groups, even on a limited basis in some cases, got together and made things happen to honor blinded veterans in BVA, he said. It's a testament to what we can do when there is a cause for which we can work and pitch in. Examples include 31 total proclamations in the area covered by the Greater Houston Group alone, and governor's proclamations in Idaho, Georgia, and Florida. Longtime VIST coordinator Evelyn Cabrera Heatwole assisted the Richmond chapter of the Mid-Atlantic Regional Group in organizing a heavily publicized white cane walk outside the medical center following a public reading of the 2010 National Proclamation in the hospital cafeteria. Because of heavy rain outdoors, the group of 14 blinded veterans navigated a second-floor loop above a mall area within the hospital. The unveiling of a BVA birthday cake occurred following the walk. Medical Center Director John A. Brandecker remained for the entire event and walked with Evelyn, who is totally blind herself. 3 members of the Emerald Coast Regional Group, Darrell Goldsmith, Paul Kaufman, and Rain Rich, were each highlighted in a television news segment that same day on WEAR TV3 in Pensacola, Florida. The segment, headlined Blinded Veterans Find Friendship and Purpose in Local Support Group, hailed BVA and VA rehabilitation programs as lifesavers that served as a second family to them following their sight loss. Florida Governor Rick Scott also issued an official proclamation making March 28th Blinded Veterans Day in his state. Soon after, the leadership of the Georgia Regional Group requested a proclamation from the office of Governor Nathan Deal and received word that it would indeed be issued. Group President Jesse Jones pursued a meeting with the governor in which the proclamation would be formally presented to the group. Governor Deal took the time to meet with 6 members of the group in his office on the morning of March 28th. Both the Arizona Central Northern Regional Group and BVA of Wisconsin held special group events in conjunction with the day. Wisconsin President John Carter sent the following account of his group's event. BVA of Wisconsin held its Blinded Veterans Day celebration on March 28th at American Legion Post 434 with a luncheon. Post 434 is located in the city of Oak Creek. Present were 47 members and their guests, blind organization representatives, and family and friends. The Oak Creek Lions, American Legion Post 434, the Sons of the American Legion, and the American Legion Auxiliary volunteered to oversee preparation and the serving of the meal, which was financed with the group's own funds. The meal was attended by all but one of the officers of the group. Secretary Gary Traynor traveled more than 300 miles one way to be present. Special guests included the Executive Director of the Wisconsin Council of the Blind, Executive Director of ABLE, Audio Braille Literacy Enhancement, and the director of the Milwaukee Library for the Blind. The Zablocki VA Medical Center was represented by Assistant Director James McLean. 3 of Wisconsin's county service officers were also present. Milwaukee VIS Coordinator Leon Haith, a 50-year employee of VA, provided a bus to transport BVA members from the medical center. Our guest speaker was retired Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Zimmerman, the newly appointed VA Secretary for the state of Wisconsin. His presentation encouraged continued collaboration of veterans service organizations with government agencies that work for veterans. The event concluded with a 12-minute video of a portion of the first annual Viper Ride, co-sponsored by BVA of Wisconsin last August, when 39 blinded veterans spent the day motorcycling on southeastern Wisconsin country roads. Gemini World War II Anniversary, Unite Blinded Vets in D.C. by Dale Stamper. 2 photos from the Project Gemini Week in Washington, D.C. provide additional context to this story. The first of the 2 shows the group from both countries posing for a photo outside Arlington National Cemetery's Memorial Amphitheater. Members of the group are wearing shirts representing the 2 different blinded veteran organizations. As an aside, the photo includes a volunteer guide from Georgia and a researcher representing Blind Veterans UK. The caption states, Dale Stamper, second from far right on back row, joined fellow blinded veterans from 2 continents, April 2nd to 8th, for Project Gemini Washington, D.C. Exchange. Left to right, Guide Joe Amerling, Exchange Coordinator Tom Zampieri, Brits Alan Walker, Colin Williamson, Dr. Renata Gomes, Sue Isles, Steve Birkin, and U.S. blinded veterans Monica Gilmore, Dale Stamper, and Brian Corcoran. A second photo, a relatively small one by Bulletin standards, reveals the same group that was just described, plus a U.S. Senator and an additional lady described in the caption as follows. Full cadre of D.C. Project Gemini participants in the office of Senator John Bozeman, Republican, Arkansas. At far left is Jacqueline Garrick, most recently an official in the office of the Undersecretary of Defense for Personnel and Readiness at the Pentagon. Garrick assisted Tom Zampieri in developing important context for the Project Gemini Week. The account of the week begins. April 6, 2017 marked the 100th anniversary of the entrance of U.S. expeditionary forces into World War I. Through the efforts of Tom Zampieri, 5 members of Blind Veterans UK and 4 members of BVA spent a week together in the nation's capital commemorating this historic event. At press time, the annual exchange in the United Kingdom is fast approaching. Since 2011, Project Gemini has conducted an annual program in the British Isles in which representatives of Blind Veterans UK and BVA exchange information on rehabilitation and research. This year, the strong connection between the 2 organizations, coupled with the fact that Blind Veterans UK was founded during World War I, gave rise to an action-packed week in Washington less than 2 months before the annual gathering in London. Although the two organizations have different roots, Blind Veterans UK having been founded in 1915 and BVA in 1945, there was no shortage of battlefield eye injuries and vision loss among U.S. military personnel during World War I. Within our small group, therefore, there was great interest in learning how such injuries were treated in the early 1900s and what lessons were learned that affect treatment today. This was an action-packed week as we visited the Pentagon, the Old Guard at Fort Myer, Arlington National Cemetery, the U.S. Capitol, the residence of the British Ambassador, Walter Reed Hospital, and VA Central Office. We also took a tour of the National Museum of Health and Medicine. The logistical challenge of doing this with a group of blind and visually impaired individuals were made much easier by the Montgomery County, Maryland Police Department on Monday, when officers Scott Davis and Michael Chinblom brought with them a 14-passenger police van to transport everyone. On Tuesday, the Bethesda, Maryland Police Department supplied another passenger van and Officer Aaron Bailey to be our driver. Transportation the remainder of the week was provided by Joe Mornini, Executive Director of Team River Runner. Retired Army Ranger and Police Officer Joe Ammerling traveled to Washington from Atlanta, Georgia to serve as a volunteer for the group. Joe provided a similar service last June during Project Gemini's week in Chicago. He was a sighted guide and did a masterful job of keeping everything coordinated. Our Monday morning Pentagon visit and guided tour included the wing that was reconstructed after September 11, 2001. It was a moving part of the visit for all of us. We then went to Fort Myer, which is located immediately adjacent to Arlington National Cemetery. Our visit there consisted of a tour by two members of the Old Guard, which includes the only horse cavalry unit in the Army. The Old Guard is the oldest active-duty infantry unit in the Army. It has served the nation since 1784 as the Army's official ceremonial unit and escort to the President. The Old Guard also provides security for Washington, D.C. in times of national emergency or disturbance. Another function of the Old Guard is to care for the horses and caissons used for funeral cortèges at the cemetery. Every morning, first thing, they polish all of the brass on the caissons and gear for the horses and give the horses a shower. Later that afternoon, we observed the changing of the guard at the Tomb of the Unknowns in Arlington National Cemetery. Blind Veterans UK President Colin Williamson presented a poppy wreath to the Sergeant of the Guard to be placed at the tomb later that day. The poppy wreath was a tribute to those fallen during World War I. As I mentioned in my President's page, members of Veterans of Foreign Wars, John Lyons Post 3150, hosted us for dinner that evening. Tuesday started with an early morning meeting with Senator John Bozeman of Arkansas. As a former optometrist who ran his own practice, Senator Bozeman has been an excellent advocate for blinded veterans on a variety of legislative issues over the years. Before becoming a senator, he served in the House of Representatives on the Veterans Affairs Committee. Our tour of the U.S. Capitol followed the visit with Senator Bozeman. In the afternoon, we visited the British Ambassador's residence, which included a discussion of blind rehabilitation in the United States and the United Kingdom with Major General Richard Quipwell, a British Army officer who currently serves as head of the British Defense Staff in Washington and as a senior embassy attaché. Wednesday was our much-anticipated Walter Reed visit and meetings. Navy Captain Penny E. Walter, Executive Director of the Joint Department of Defense VA Vision Center of Excellence, VCE, coordinated with the Walter Reed Public Affairs Office and Government Relations Directorate to arrange meetings with staff in the VCE, the Military Amputee Treatment Center, and the National Intrepid Center of Excellence. It was encouraging to hear how these different groups were researching battlefield trauma, prevention, treatment, and rehabilitation of ocular injuries. Our day was capped off with a visit to the Vietnam Veterans Memorial, the Korean War Memorial, and the World War II Memorial. On Thursday, we again spent much of the day discussing treatment and rehabilitation of blind and visually impaired veterans. Because many of us also have hearing disabilities, a joint meeting was scheduled with Dr. David Eliasson, Deputy Director of the VCE representing VA as both a liaison and a consultant, and Lynn W. Henselman, Ph.D., Deputy Director of the Hearing Center of Excellence, also representing VA. That evening we finally had time to relax and enjoy kayaking at the Walter Reed Pool. Since none of us had any experience in kayaks, at times it seemed more like bumper cars at an amusement park. Joe Mornini and other volunteers with Team River Runner attempted to keep everyone headed in the right direction. It was a fun evening, and I personally hope to improve my skills in the kayak. The veterans wrapped up the week on Friday by spending the morning at the National Health and Medicine Museum. We were given a hands-on tour of many fascinating exhibits. The morning ended with more discussion about the changes in medicine over the past 100 years since World War I. Travel expenses for the British participants were made possible by an American Embassy London exchange grant related to the centennial commemoration of World War I. The American Academy of Ophthalmology has also supported Project Gemini through a grant to BVA's Operation Peer Support Program, which provides a pool from which Project Gemini participants are selected to participate. The Project Gemini initiative seeks to foster mutual respect and understanding between the two allied nations as participants establish new friendships, share knowledge of blind and visually impaired rehabilitation services, and exchange insights and personal experiences regarding their own adjustment to blindness. These aims were met in full for me personally during our week in Washington, as they have been for many of our blinded veterans during visits to Great Britain and last year's exchange in Chicago. The time and labor required to produce and print the BVA Bulletin make it impossible to report on the Project Gemini Week in the UK until our July-August issue. Without knowing the details of this year's exchange, we are aware at press time that the group embarked on May 20th and returned May 28th. Based on past experience, we trust that Operation Iraqi Freedom Army Sergeant Russ Nelson, Army Lieutenant Colonel Kathy Champion, Gulf War I U.S. Marine Corps Staff Sergeant Kevin Jackson, and Gulf War I and II Marine Corps Sergeant Dan Standage enjoyed the same rewarding and fulfilling experiences as I did in Washington, D.C. Tom Zampieri coordinated the trip for the 7th time in as many years. Although he personally enjoys everything about Project Gemini, there is still much work and sacrifice involved for which BVA is forever indebted to him. BVA members demonstrate Vibrancy of Human Spirit by Tim Hornick. A couple of photos are also included with Tim's article. The first of the two is a 90-degree view of a gentleman and a lady walking together. Both have broad smiles. The gentleman who is on the left in the photo is holding a white cane. The lady has a strap of some type around her shoulder. Both individuals have an entry number attached to their shirts. The woman's number is 2556. The man's number is partially covered, and only the number 12 is seen. In the background, desert foliage can be seen. The caption describes the photo thus: "It may be the last 26.2 miles, but both Lonnie Bedwell and Nancy Standage have still enough left in them to offer a smile or two." Photo courtesy of Victor Henderson, Blind Endeavors. A second photo shows 4 gentlemen standing side by side with each turned in one direction. They appear to be attentive to something occurring in front of them. Only the second one from the left is smiling faintly. The 2 middle gentlemen are wearing light jackets, while the 2 others are in short-sleeved T-shirts. White canes are also seen with the first and third gentlemen. The sky above them appears dark, but there is considerable light on the ground. Many other individuals are seen in the background. The caption states, "Left to right, Nate Gorham, Tim Hornick, Steve Baskus, and Kevin Baskus await Bataan Memorial Death March opening ceremony." Photo courtesy of Victor Henderson, Blind Endeavors. The body of Tim's account begins with the following. The 26.2-mile Bataan Memorial Death March challenges one's humility, endurance, and perseverance. The ordeal originates on high desert trails that consist of sand, gravel, and paved roads within the Organ Mountains in southwestern New Mexico. The Organ Mountains Desert Peak National Monument, located 10 miles east of the city of Las Cruces, was created in May 2014. The elevation of Las Cruces, 3,908 feet above sea level, adds an extra bonus challenge for participants who hail from lower altitudes. The Bataan Memorial Death March commemorates the forced march of Filipino and American civilian and service members captured on April 9, 1942. Approximately 10,000 individuals died along the roughly 62-mile route to the Japanese camps. The original participants consisted of the survivors from the Battle for the Philippines, which began in December 1941. Reflecting upon the casualties from the original death march and what the survivors endured leaves me speechless. The stroll we do today keeps these brave souls alive. Listening to those around you and assisting your fellow marchers provides a glimpse into this tragic event. Even more inspiring is the chance to meet and talk with the actual veterans of the Bataan Death March. Colonel Ben Scarden was 24 years old when captured by the Japanese. This year marked the 10th time the 99-year-old walked 8.5 miles of the route, surrounded by family and friends. Scarden was not alone, as surviving dependents of other baton veterans took the annual trip this year and in the past. One of these heroes' daughters approached our group around mile 12 and thanked us for our service. We promptly thanked her for her service in ensuring that the stories of her father and uncle continue to be told. She told us how her father carried his brother before he died. This left us all absolutely speechless with tears in our eyes. Fielding the first 5-person blinded veteran team were Operation Peer Support's Nate Gorham, Steve Baskus, Lonnie Bedwell, Dan Standage, and Tim Hornick. We all trekked the entire route. The team received support from Blind Endeavor's Victor Henderson and Kevin Baskus, the Southwestern Blind Rehabilitation Center's Nancy Standage, Tucson, and Terry Keble and his friends and family. Victor, Kevin, and Nancy served as sighted guides throughout the route. Terry and Mary Ellen Keble hosted our group with the assistance from their friends Jim and Nina Schaefer, Al and Marie Huey, and Harry and Eileen Monahan. We also had the distinct pleasure to meet fellow blinded veteran and hero Marshall Lynch, who charged across an island with 75 Marines during World War II. Only 18 survived that particular operation. If you're wondering how 5 blinded veterans navigate a 26.2-mile trek through the desert, let's just say that it required some trial and error. First, we used a combination of trekking poles, white canes, iTunes music, and other vocal commands. Our formation possessed a center point consisting of Kevin and Steve Baskus walking in single file connected with a cane. Steve carried a Bluetooth speaker which pumped out a series of playlists from iTunes music on his iPhone 7 throughout the entire time. The music allowed everyone else to orient themselves off the audio cues. Lonnie, with his tremendous hearing, followed behind Steve with a trekking pole and white cane. I floated behind Lonnie or Victor, relying on either 2 trekking poles or a trekking pole with a white cane. Nate and Dan relied on their residual sight and canes with guided assistance as needed. As a VA BRC instructor, Nancy ensured that we stayed on point and did not go wandering off through the desert. Amazingly, many of our fellow participants did not fully realize we were blind, especially when Lonnie started dancing mid-trail. The 2 trekking pole method and the trekking pole white cane method both permit a blind individual to safely navigate rugged terrain. The 2 trekking pole method requires each pole to be extended so that your hands and arms rest comfortably about chest level. Each time you swing your arm, you must place a tip of the pole in front of and outside your foot by about a measured foot. This aids in your balance and awareness of the trail. The trekking pole with a white cane performs a bit differently. The pole reinforces balance with limited trail feedback as the white cane is used normally. A pencil, ball, or hook tip will work on the tip of the white cane. A loose grip is essential. The various types of sand, gravel, and roads presented different challenges. 2 to 3 foot sand berms acted like bumpers, but the loose sand and gravel made walking straight very difficult. The paved road was easy to navigate with the white cane, but very difficult with 2 trekking poles. Finally, the course contained many congestion points, forcing us to rely on walking in tandem. So, just as we developed a groove, environmental factors prevented complacency. If anything, the variations ensured that our guides reacted swiftly to changing situations. The Baton Memorial Death March was a huge highlight in the lives of each of the participants. Here are some of the comments. Nate: what stands out to me is everyone completing the march, coupled with the amazing support of Terry, Mary Ellen, Jim, Al, and all the locals. We had a great attitude among the marchers, and everyone was determined to finish. Dan: the greatest thing about the march to me was the chance to be surrounded by my fellow veterans. This provided the opportunity for each of us to share where we are in our lives, share questions, and offer advice. Steve: the march was amazing and a great challenge for blind and visually impaired veterans. I especially enjoyed crossing the finish line, given that the trek destroyed the bottom of one of my feet. Lonnie: I should have found the time to train better, which drives home the point that no matter how busy I am, I have to find time to stay in shape. One of the toughest aspects of being blind is making time and developing strategies to engage in physical activities. We have great opportunities, such as VA's MOVE program, and networks like www.unitedinstride.com, which pairs blind individuals with sighted guides. Blindness should not cause your life to stop, but provide you with the chance to solve problem situations. For me, this grand march fulfilled my goal of finally accomplishing a marathon-length trek. This goal originated with my participation in the United States Association of Blind Athletes National Championships at the California International Marathon. I can't think of a better way for the goal to be fulfilled than at an event commemorating one of the most significant war events in modern history. Destination San Jose for Blind Hockey by Bruce Porter, Jr. 2 photos accompany the report on BVA blind hockey in San Jose. One is a large group photo of hockey players and coaches on an ice surface. The photo has no accompanying caption. Nearly 40 hockey competitors are among the group in the photo. The hockey sticks of those on the front row are extended outward. The actual hockey competitors are dressed in full hockey attire, including helmets and face masks in many cases. The other photo is another angle shot of 3 individuals seated on a bench that appears to be just outside a skating rink. The photo subjects are 2 male and 1 female. The male on the right appears to be a youth, while the one on the left is an adult. The lady is seated in the middle of the 2 gentlemen. The existing caption for this photo reads thus: Left to right, blinded vet Jacques Belloni, Chicago blind hockey team coach Carla Pentamone, and youth hockey player T.J. Stewart. Bruce's report begins as follows. BVA hockey participants have returned from San Jose after completing their first appearance at USA Hockey's Disabled Festival. We led a team of 5 of our top veteran athletes who have been developing into blind hockey players. Previous issues of the Bulletin have reported on the VA Adaptive Sports Grant that has made blind hockey a reality. After catching a red-eye flight from Ronald Reagan National Airport, the team landed in San Jose, ready to play. Other visually impaired veteran athletes were traveling from Connecticut and Los Angeles to meet up with our team. Although they had been to several countries during their time in their service, for some of the veterans this was their first time ever visiting California. The athletes tried to relax before dinner and then went to their first practice at the San Jose Sharks facility at 8 o'clock that night. Manny Rivas had traveled from Los Angeles to meet the BVA team in San Jose. It was his first time playing blind hockey, and he absolutely loved it. Many of the visually impaired athletes competing at the USA Hockey Disabled Festival attended the BVA Blind Hockey Weekend in February. It was exciting to see how everyone had progressed. We are indeed the pioneers of the most exciting adaptive sport destined to be played at the Paralympic Games. The practice ended with a scrimmage game in which the athletes were able to try their newfound skills against one another. As we headed to the bus, there were smiles galore and a number of tall tales related. The next day promised to be another action-filled day for our blinded veterans playing blind hockey. For many of us, it's hard to imagine. Team sports, exhilaration of scoring a goal, even locker room banter, something that's not normally possible for those who have lost their sight. These were some of the things that crossed my mind after that first day. As an organization, we're helping our veterans realize their dreams in ways they never thought would be possible. And that's what it has to be all about. During the scrimmage on our second day, our local D.C. veteran athlete, Jacques Belloni, suffered a sprained ankle while trying to score a goal. A trip to the beautiful Palo Alto VA Medical Center confirmed that Jacques was to stay in an air cast for 4 weeks. We're happy to report that he has since returned to the ice and will play with the Warriors veterans team at their Memorial Day weekend tournament. While in San Jose, we had a meeting of the top minds in USA and Canadian adaptive hockey and planned out the next 12 to 16 months of blind hockey events. On behalf of BVA, we announced our partnership with U.S. Figure Skating, leveraging the nationwide Learn to Skate program for all visually impaired athletes. Thanks to this partnership, any visually impaired athlete can now learn to skate safely at a rink that is most convenient for them. This will feed new players into the blind hockey program and open up options for visually impaired athletes to pursue ice dancing, figure skating, or continue in the Learn to Skate program. On the third day, veteran Lawrence Harrison played his first blind hockey game. It's a testament to Lawrence and the military "I can do it" attitude that has propelled him from learning to skate at the Sculpture Garden ice rink at the National Gallery of Art to playing blind hockey in San Jose in a few short months. Lawrence was also featured in the Washington Post for his artwork while he was competing in San Jose. We can't be more proud of him. The fourth and final day at the USA Hockey Disabled Festival was an early, fast-paced game. We took control with visually impaired veteran Craig Fitzpatrick leading the team. Craig may be the top blind hockey player in the USA, as he continues to show us that there are no limits to what one can accomplish. Greg was instrumental in the final game of the fourth day, controlling completely the speed and pace of the game. All of the hockey equipment, time on the ice, and coaching are provided for visually impaired veterans to learn to skate and play blind hockey through the VA grant. We hope to build 4 strong teams in the coming year as we train visually impaired athletes nationwide and select the national team to play in an epic USA-Canada match. Bruce Porter, Jr., is currently BVA's blind hockey program director and coach of its DC-based Washington Wheelers Hockey Club. Around BVA, Legislative Committee attends Capitol Hill briefing. A photo accompanies this Around BVA entry. 6 gentlemen are seen standing together side by side, 4 of whom are part of BVA's Legislative Committee. All 4 are dressed in formal business attire and are wearing their service caps. 3 of them are with guide dogs. Only the second gentleman from the far right has a white cane. Behind them is a window to the outdoors, and to their right is a speaking pulpit, the front of which displays a poster about the Decade of Vision between 2010 and 2020, an initiative of the Alliance for Eye and Vision Research. The 2 additional gentlemen in the photo are also dressed in coats and ties. The caption states, "Left to right in Rayburn House Office Building, Kevin Corcoran, Executive Director of the Eye Bank Association of America, Dale Stamper, Joe Parker, Paul Mims, Mark Cornell, and clinician scientist Mark Greiner, M.D. Photo courtesy of David Epstein, National Alliance for Eye and Vision Research." The short account begins. Members of BVA's Legislative Committee already present in the nation's capital for the midwinter board meetings, the annual congressional testimony, and meetings with members of Congress and their staffs, stopped in at a March 21st military eye trauma congressional briefing hosted by the Alliance for Eye and Vision Research and co-sponsored by BVA, the Eye Bank Association of America, and the Association for Research in Vision and Ophthalmology. Mark Greiner, M.D., Assistant Professor of Ophthalmology and Visual Sciences at the University of Iowa Carver College of Medicine, was the featured speaker. Dr. Greiner is a clinician scientist specializing in corneal surgery and who studies ways to improve outcomes after corneal transplants. Dr. Greiner's research is supported in part by funding from DoD's Vision Research Program, for which BVA has taken an active advocacy role. The briefing illustrated the critical need for such research funding. The focus of Dr. Greiner's research is the identification of individuals with the greatest risk of developing complications and poor outcomes after transplantation, and later improving the quality of transplant tissue. Christine Patterson recognized by MARG. This is another photo-accompanied Around BVA entry. 2 ladies are seen standing together. The lady on the left is holding up a framed certificate. The lettering is large enough to read Certificate of Appreciation. The other lady is holding up a large basket. In the background is part of a U.S. flag. The caption reads, "Christine Patterson, left, receives Certificate of Appreciation and large gift basket from Doris Jones, who made the presentation on behalf of the entire Mid-Atlantic Regional Group." Additional detail is provided as follows. Those who serve the best and most are frequently those who least desire the thanks or even the recognition for their efforts. Such is the case with Christine Patterson, wife of Herb Patterson, president of the Richmond chapter of the Mid-Atlantic Regional Group. Against her wishes, Christine was presented with a gift basket and a certificate of appreciation from Regional Group President Doris Jones at the group's semi-annual spring meeting April 9. The award was given for Christine's loyalty, selfless service, and dedication to BVA at all levels. I attempted to put her in for a national award that she could have received at the convention, said Group Secretary Michonne Harrison. Although she found out about it and asked that we not nominate her, we had to find some way to let her know how much we appreciate her. BVA HQ saddened by Don Haynes' passing. Sadness was felt in various BVA settings in late April as news spread that Donnie Haynes, had passed away in Winston-Salem, North Carolina on April 15th. Donnie was an employee in the BVA Field Service Program in the mid-1970s following an industrial accident at General Steel that left him severely injured and totally blind. Soon thereafter, Donnie learned Braille and ambulatory skills that allowed him to earn a Bachelor of Arts degree from Elon College and pursue a position with BVA out of Richmond, Virginia, that assigned him to travel throughout the southeastern United States. Following his employment with BVA, Donnie returned home to the city of Eden, North Carolina. He owned and operated a convenience store in nearby Reidsville. He later sold the business and resumed his service to BVA as a counselor at the Durham VA Medical Center. He was the first president of the North Carolina Regional Group and has held almost every other position. Florida vets dive at Earth Day, Pensacola. An accompanying photo reveals an individual in full scuba gear, including an oxygen tank, halfway immersed in what appears to be a lake. In the right hand of the figure is a white cane. In the near and distant background is nothing but water, with the exception of a couple of wooden decks above the water and the barely visible heads of perhaps 3 other divers. The caption reads, Emerald Coast Regional Group President Daryl Goldsmith comes up for a break from his diving efforts to help clean up a national park fishing area in northern Florida. The account of the event begins. Daryl Goldsmith and Paul Kaufman, officers of the Emerald Coast Regional Group, engaged in a little scuba diving on April 22nd in an effort to clean up the Fort Pickens National Park underwater fishing area in the Florida Panhandle. The two dove with the Third Coast Dive Club and the Veterans Dive Locker. According to Handicapped Scuba Association guidelines, they needed a third buddy to help in an emergency, and that help came in the form of Third Coast Dive Club master Laura Erickson. We had a wonderful dive, said Paul. Daryl is very proud of the broken glass bottle he found, telling everyone that it would have cut a swimmer's foot wide open. Cleanup of the fishing area was the more challenging part of Earth Day Pensacola for divers like Daryl and Paul. Earth Day Pensacola is an annual event in which the Northwest Florida residents gather to celebrate the Earth in a family-friendly atmosphere. There was live music, a sustainable art show, food vendors, an expanded children's area, and information booths on how community members can live more environmentally conscious. New Dublin chapter for Georgia Regional Group. An increase in both numbers and enthusiasm has brought about the inauguration of a new chapter within the BVA Georgia Regional Group. The Dublin chapter was officially recognized on April 19th after a 2-month outreach effort to blinded veterans in the area served by the Dublin VA Medical Center. VIST coordinator Helen Donner assisted in the effort by making available BVA literature and promotional items. The city of Dublin itself, located in the center of Georgia some 135 miles southeast of Atlanta, has a population of approximately 16,500. In New York, the best in friendship and conquering obstacles. Blinded veteran Jeffrey Steele, New York Regional Group, was featured on the New York Harbor Healthcare System's homepage in early April for his love of boxing and the camaraderie that accompanies the sport. Only a week later, a second article appeared about another blinded veteran within the same healthcare system, in this case Miguel Davis Dacio, vice president of the New York Regional Group. Jeffrey's story was considered unique since he cannot see the fights he attends at the Brooklyn Barclays Center due to loss of sight from glaucoma and diabetes. Jeffrey is a veteran of the Marine Corps who did some boxing of his own during his time in the military. Jeffrey chooses to focus on things in life that can never be lost or taken away unless they are allowed to by the one holding them. It isn't the boxing he's passionate about, but the friends with whom he shares the events. Jeffrey has attended the VA Eastern Blind Rehabilitation Center at West Haven and receives ongoing medical and vision care follow-up at the Brooklyn VA Medical Center, largely through the efforts of VIST coordinator John Collins. Hey, it wasn't that long ago when boxing was only heard on the radio, and few complained as long as they could be in a comfortable chair and be with their family and friends, he is quoted as saying in the article. Jeffrey considers the updates he gets from his fellow vets seated next to him at the Barclays Center to be more than enough to enjoy the fights, which he considers to be about strategy rather than trying to hurt an opponent. I can't say it enough. These guys mean the world to me, he said. I continue to have the love of my family and friends and have meaningful experiences each day despite my vision loss. The feature about Miguel Davis Dacio chronicles his road to recovery from physical and mental health challenges, of which sight loss is but one. Past crises he has faced include homelessness, racism, and physical psychological abuse. At this year's Winter Sports Clinic, Miguel experienced his first ever sensation of skiing, which was, quote, exhilarating in many ways and symbolic of the natural highs he has experienced, end quote, after attending VIST support group meetings organized by VIST coordinator Natasha Mlatok and taking advantage of other services available to blinded veterans. He also participated in scuba diving and goalball at the clinic. New BVA membership types announced. BVA has announced the addition of a series of new membership types across the spectrum of the organization's current and future stakeholders. The categories added, which are effective immediately, include individuals and organizations that offer rehabilitation services, technology, and other types of support to veterans with vision loss. The memberships are categorized under three major affiliate names: Veterans and First Responders Affiliate, Occupational Affiliate, and Organizational Affiliate. The addition of these new categories will allow BVA to expand its outreach far beyond what it has been previously, said Al Avina. We're confident that these additions will also increase public awareness of America's blinded veterans and strengthen our networks of support across the country, end quote. Examples of occupational affiliates are health and human services personnel such as medical staff, social workers, VA blind rehabilitation service staff, Department of Defense staff, local community leaders, and researchers. Organizational affiliates are small businesses, small nonprofit organizations, and Fortune 500 companies and other corporations. Affiliate members will receive the BVA Bulletin as well as the monthly e-newsletter and regular legislative updates. They can register for the annual National Convention at the regular membership rate. For additional information on how to become an affiliate member, visit bva.org. Auxiliaries View by Pam Hogan. Pam's Auxiliaries View column also comes accompanied by the same Head & Shoulders thumbnail photo used in previous issues during the past 2 years. Pam is wearing an elegant dress and is smiling broadly in the photo. There is no caption. The text of the Auxiliaries View begins with the following. As time is marching on, we all need to think about our end-of-year activities, meaning the current BVA fiscal year and the reporting that goes along with it. The first thing that comes to mind is to get those spouses and children of blinded veterans who are seeking higher education or vocational schools to get their scholarship applications submitted as soon as possible. Applicants can submit paperwork for both BVA and BVAA scholarships, although the deadline for the BVA scholarships for the upcoming year already passed in April. This will be the 34th year that BVAA will award the Renee Feldman scholarships. 2 recipients will receive $2,000 and 1 will receive $1,000 for 2017 to 18. The forms, guidelines, and instructions are available on the auxiliary website, www.nbvaaux.org. Please complete the application thoroughly and completely. If an applicant needs further information, he or she may contact Lottie Davis, Scholarship Chairperson, at 703-521-3745. Annual meetings, along with the nominations of officers, should also be on the agenda. Please try to attend these meetings if at all possible. Annual meeting minutes, reports of officers, and financial statements are to be sent to President Sandy Krasnodemsky, Treasurer Carl Heitinen, and Secretary Benjamin Holmes. All of these emails and addresses can also be found on the auxiliary website. As many of you know, one of the main sources of funding for the auxiliary and the scholarship program is the silent auction at the National Convention. We rely on the generosity of our members and friends for donations of a variety of items to offer for this event. If you happen to be craft-oriented or artistic, handmade items are the most sought after. You may either bring these to the convention with you or send them to Reverend Edna Kirksey Dixon, whose mailing address is also on the website. Edna has received a few items already and is looking forward to many more. Please let yours truly, Pam Hogan, know what is happening in your auxiliary regional groups so that I can toot your horn in the BVAA Star and in subsequent issues of the BVA Bulletin. We're all anxious to hear what other groups are doing, as it inspires all of us to do likewise. Speaking of our National Convention in Jacksonville, August 14 to 18, the auxiliary will be continuing our Caring for the Caregiver series with guest speakers planned for Tuesday and Wednesday. The presentations will be consistent with our mission, which is to provide aid, assistance, and support to our blinded veterans and their families, thus creating a better future. Don't wait too long to get registered for the convention and to secure your hotel reservations. We look forward to seeing everyone in sunny, warm Jacksonville. Happenings in District 2 by David Fox. A thumbnail photo of David Fox appears at the beginning of his guest column. The photo, which reveals a serious look, has been taken at a 90-degree angle, making it more of a side shot than a straight head-on photo. David is also wearing a coat, tie, and his BVA service cap. There is no accompanying caption. The write-up reads as follows. As most of our BVA members and other stakeholders hopefully are aware, the volunteers among us offer countless hours of their time to assist us. Some of these volunteers are our blinded veterans themselves, who serve in official capacities at VA medical centers, often with their spouses or other family members. Other volunteers come from additional walks of life, such as those who, under the direction of our beloved Margarine Beeman, serve us at our national and state conventions from schools, military bases, scout troops, and other veterans service organizations. Volunteers are a meaningful adjunct to our BVA field service program, especially those who serve as volunteer service officers and who are accredited by VA to provide claims assistance to veterans. As our outreach brochure states, they are empowered to do this by virtue of their qualifications and training. Collectively, they donate thousands of hours of service annually. Many of our members and bulletin readers may not be aware that a BVA liaison sits on the VA Voluntary Services, or VAVS, National Advisory Committee, providing guidance to ensure that blindness issues are addressed at VA medical centers. Members of our regional groups represent BVA on local VAVS advisory committees. In this manner, we collaborate with VAVS partners to identify, articulate, and implement initiatives, programs, and training that meet the needs of blinded and visually impaired veterans. Those of us who volunteer at VA medical centers are also paying back and paying forward that which dedicated VA employees and volunteers have done or will do for us in the future. The tasks may sometimes seem mundane, helping with mailings, phone calls, or support group activities, but many of us have witnessed what a difference such help can make. Sometimes we perceive that we are merely a warm body in getting one of these mundane tasks accomplished, but we never know at the moment what results such efforts may produce in obtaining help for a veteran with vision loss. We may also be unaware of our potential to lift the spirits of one of our veterans. Although the real thanks are felt when we observe and realize the value of our service, I still wish to take a stab at letting our volunteers in the OKI Regional Group and District 2 know how much I appreciate their service. I do the same by extension to all of our volunteers nationwide. Obviously, our annual David L. Schnare Award seeks to recognize the individual who best exemplifies this service, but there are so many more out there who are giving of themselves on a daily basis. May we recognize and thank them as often as possible, and do our very best to serve others as others have served us. Of note, TSA offers passenger support. With the onset of weather more favorable to travel and enjoying the outdoors, the Transportation Security Administration, TSA, has issued its usual reminders regarding TSA programs and services beneficial to travelers with disabilities and medical conditions. The following information could also prove useful to blinded veterans and their families traveling to Jacksonville for the 72nd National Convention. TSA Cares is a helpline for travelers with disabilities or medical conditions who wish to prepare for the screening process prior to flying. Travelers or their companions may call TSA Cares toll-free at 855-787-2227 or email tsa-contact-center@tsa.dhs.gov. The hours of operation for the TSA Cares helpline are 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Time, Monday through Friday, and 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. on weekends and holidays. TSA PreCheck is a screening program open to travelers with disabilities and medical conditions who volunteer information about themselves prior to flying. The program allows TSA to focus on passengers that the agency knows less about and those who are considered high risk. Although PreCheck is open to everyone, it may be particularly useful for veterans with mobility challenges. A TSA.gov landing page contains information about the screening of disabilities or medical conditions. It can be accessed via the international icon on the page. TSA posts information that is developed specifically for travelers with disabilities and medical conditions. Travelers can select a specific disability or medical condition at www.tsa.gov and learn how to prepare for security screening. The TSA Disability Notification Card documents the disability or medical condition. The notification card can also be found at https://www.tsa.gov/travel/special-procedures. It can be accompanied by other medical documentation. And TSA technology screenings or pat-down procedures are sometimes troublesome to air travelers of all types. Learning more about these procedures can make them less threatening. Additional information is located at https://www.tsa.gov/travel/security-screening. VVMF commemorates 35 years since wall groundbreaking. On the afternoon of March 26, the Vietnam Veterans Memorial Fund, VVMF, hosted a 35th anniversary groundbreaking ceremony 50 years to the day of the actual groundbreaking on March 26, 1982. Brief remarks were offered by Jan Scruggs and Bob Dubeck, both co-founders of VVMF. Scruggs was also a longtime president of VVMF, while Dubeck is a former executive director. Commemorative events at the wall are scheduled throughout 2017, highlighted by the reading of each of the wall's 58,307 names, November 7th to 10th, a special Veterans Day service, November 11th, and ceremonies on November 13th, marking 35 years since the memorial's dedication. VVMF is seeking personal stories relating to the groundbreaking and dedication events of the Vietnam Veterans Memorial. Stories can be shared at http://act.vvmf.org/35, the numbers 35-years. If the stories are not directly about the groundbreaking and dedication, VVMF would still like the veterans and the general public to share their reflections and perspectives of the first time they heard about, saw, or visited the memorial. Distance learning option now possible with Statler. The National Statler Center's training for blind and visually impaired clients who seek career employment is now possible through a new distance learning program option. Quote, "We have worked diligently for the last 2 years to prepare this program and feel that it will offer students who would not otherwise be able to attend on-site programs to still receive our highly regarded training and placement services," said Coordinator of Admissions Elizabeth Hassett-Schmidt. The less expensive distance learning option runs in conjunction with regular on-site classes so that clients and counselors have the flexibility to choose the option that best fits their needs. Statler has more than 600 graduates to date and boasts an 81.3% placement rate for graduates across the country. Service dog legislation in House and Senate. The Puppies Assisting Wounded Service Members, PAWS, Act was reintroduced in early May in an effort to provide service dogs to veterans with post-traumatic stress disorder. Service dogs can provide support, peace, and joy to these Americans as they confront the invisible scars of war, said Senator Deb Fischer, Republican, Nebraska, who reintroduced the bill with co-sponsor Cory Booker, Democrat, New Jersey, after it stalled in the 114th Congress. Representative Ron DeSantis, Republican, Florida, District 6, introduced the House version of the legislation. Veterans with physical disabilities such as vision loss are already able to receive a service dog. Women of the Armed Forces by Warner Murray, New York Regional Group. Women of the military, we recognize you, in all branches of service for many things you do. A mother, sister, or daughter, or whoever it may be, you fulfilled the mission on land, the air, and the sea. Your excellent leadership solved many problems at hand. Women intuition and knowledge can heal this land. You have proven your abilities in more ways than one. Your brilliance of mind is second to none. Women of the military have truly passed the test. Because of the women, this military is the best. Letters to the Editor, Foundation offers tickets as support. I recently came across the Veteran Tickets Foundation, VetTix, a national 501c3 nonprofit organization that wants to give back to the veteran and military community, which have given so much. VetTix provides free event tickets to currently serving military, veterans, and Gold Star family members for sporting events, concerts, performing arts, and family activities. We as blinded veterans are certainly aware of the many difficult transitions that vets and their families experience as reintegration into community and civilian life takes place. VetTix asserts that attending events improves morale, strengthens family bonds through shared interest, and encourages service members to stay engaged with local communities and American life. The organization offers such opportunities in gratitude for our sacrifices and to support our reintegration. VetTix can be found at VetTix, that's VETTIX.org, and on Twitter and Facebook. Sean Wilbur, Bellevue, Nebraska, Nebraska Regional Group. Be My Eyes app makes connection. Be My Eyes is an app that I recently discovered that connects the blind and visually impaired to sighted volunteers whenever help is needed. The communication is made possible via live video connection and is a totally free service. The initiative also shares information about opportunities for persons with vision loss, including the Holman Prize for Blind Ambition, a new set of annual awards from the Lighthouse for the Blind in San Francisco. The assistance works like this. A blind person requests assistance in the Be My Eyes app. The challenge with which he or she needs help can be anything from knowing the expiration date on a milk bottle or a carton to navigating new surroundings. The volunteer helper receives a notification for help, and a live video connection is established. From the live video, the volunteer can help the blind person by answering the questions he or she needs answered. Be My Eyes launched in January 2015. In the space of just over 2 years, it has 32,000 blind or visually impaired persons from 150 countries who are being helped by more than 455,000 sighted volunteers. The service spans 90 languages. I would encourage our blinded veterans to try out this amazing technology and service. Paul Kaufman, Cantonment, Florida, Emerald Coast Regional Group. Convention Kudos. On behalf of Vanda Pharmaceuticals, thank you to BVA for a wonderful time at last year's national convention. The support, coordination, and hospitality were spot on and indicative of the high quality of those associated with and within BVA. I had a great call with my boss and counterparts after last year's meeting, in which I relayed my experiences and gained agreement for Vanda to extend our education and outreach efforts down to the regional and local level. Every Vanda employee would be well served to have the opportunity and honor of coming to know and work with BVA. Jeffrey Dodd, past Regional Sales Director, Central, Vanda Pharmaceuticals. New York member praises convention assistance. I wanted to say thank you to BVA National Headquarters for all the help given to me at last year's 71st National Convention, and look forward to the same this year. I had no reading device in Milwaukee and couldn't read my program listing for the workshops and meetings. I greatly needed some guidance. I went to Chelsea Dumont for daily information about the sessions, and she was very helpful each time. She offered the service without hesitation. Her directions for the locations of the learning sessions were clear and precise. The New York Regional Group and I thank Chelsea, the volunteers at the convention, and the BVA staff for this extra-mile assistance. Warner Murray, New York, New York, New York Regional Group. World War II valor cannot be forgotten. Recently I received a telephone call from Charles Kunwald, one of our devoted Ohio OKI Regional Group members, officers, and volunteers over several decades. Charles reminded me of the many World War II veterans within the BVA ranks, both past and present, who served their country with valor and distinction. Sometimes we forget that the brave men and women of the greatest generation literally altered the course of history from the air and on the battlefields. They preserved the liberty we enjoy today. Charles related to me a second time the story of Gerhard Marty Johnson, who passed away last fall. Marty was a member of the OKI Regional Group when he passed away at the Dayton VA Victory Ridge Hospice at age 97. More than 70 years earlier, however, Marty was among those who stormed the beaches of Normandy on D-Day, and later received a Jubilee of Liberty Medal from France. He also participated in the Battle of the Bulge. The name Gerhard Johnson was included in the November-December BVA Bulletin. As is true for our other veterans mentioned in that section of the publication, however, he is worthy of much more. Stuart Nelson, Bulletin Editor. In remembrance, the Blinded Veterans Association deeply regrets the passing of the following blinded veterans. From the Connecticut Regional Group, David F. Carlson, Joseph M. Flanagan, Joseph A. Subeski. From the Florida Regional Group, Joseph V. Aloisio, Russell D. Ayers, Ivan Babbitt, Leo C. Bene, Marvin H. Burse, Donald A. Brown, Jorge L. Buchanan, Thomas Burgoyne, Van R. Campbell, Ralph Cantrell, Dorothy J. Chapman, Albert Covello, Andrew B. Coyne, Richard W. Culbertson, Irwin F. Dawley, Anthony DiCarlo, Jerry E. Doyle, Albert E. Eisencraft, Frank Emerson, John E. Fay, Anthony G. Fusco, Grant Godwin, Woodrow Goff, Joseph A. Gonsalves, Emil E. Grabowski, Frank J. Green, Richard L. Groberg, Donald Lake Hallenbeck, Douglas L. Hill, Kenneth Jacqueline, Herbert C. Jackson, George P. Jenkins, William F. Johnson, Eunice B. Kennett, Steve Callis, George Kaufman, Donald E. Mall, Cornelius McCafferty, Stephen Mahalik, Hartzell Morrill, Rufus Morris, David Murtaugh, Odin T. Olson, Theodore Pfeiffer, Robert Robb, Richard M. Rennan, Richard Rexroth, Jr., A. E. Roberts, Gerald B. Roche, Toivo Rosander, Lafayette Sapp, Charles Scandia, Arthur A. Scott, Charles E. Stewart, E. David Stone, William Tittell, Chris Termini, James Thompson, Joseph A. Todaro, David S. Weiner, John M. Wallace, Ted Warshall, Arthur W. Wernersbach, Kurt R. Wild, Leonard Williams, Drew James Williamson, Jr., Ciaran Wolfe, Daniel Wolko, William A. Wooderson. From the Greater Houston Regional Group, Charles Sylvester. Heartland Regional Group, Oliver Bussell, Isaac Copeland. Illinois Regional Group, Bernard Edelman. Indiana Group, Harry DeMarie, John Riska. Maine Regional Group, Joseph Redzinak. Massachusetts Group, Sewell P. Bronstein, Franciszek Kruzda, James E. Rosa, Robert Spellman. New Mexico Regional Group, Clyde S. Bernhardt, Juan P. Chavez, John F. Dahl. New York Group, Washington Bennett, Dominic Cantardo, James G. Dillon, Henry P. Flynn, Robert R. Friedman, Jerry Gagliano, Robert E. O'Donnell. North Carolina, Harvey Gibbs, Don R. Haynes. Ohio, Garth P. Lambert. OKI Regional Group, Anna H. Thomas. Orange County Group, Orve E. Hampton, Lawrence W. Jarvis, Charles A. Register, Raymond Reynolds. Pennsylvania Group, Robert Croucher, Joseph J. Walters. Puerto Rico Group, Jose L. Gutierrez Justiniano, Jose M. Hernandez Pinero, Rafael Olmeda Torres. RISE Mass Regional Group, Richard C. Ferrucci. Rio Grande Group, Robert B. Stone. Rocky Mountain Group, Albert L. Gunther, Thomas H. Ledbetter, Oscar Miller, Joseph G. Pasqua, Teofilo L. Romero. San Diego, Cy Brenner. Sooner, Oklahoma Regional Group, Alonzo C. Hawkins, Joe McMillan, Thomas J. Oxley. South Carolina Group, William A. Publicover, William A. Whitley. Southern California, Richard B. Hochberg, Gene Johnson, Tony Rosano. Spokane Inland Empire Group, Jack Hood. Utah Regional Group, Elaine F. Sabraw. And from the Washington Regional Group, Henry D. Stelzer, Roger J. Woodhead. Final thought. This issue's final thought is expressed largely through another color photo, again taken at night. The highlight of the picture is a large fountain showing water spraying upward and inward from at least 24 different spigots along the side and in the middle of the fountain. Because of the purple lights in the fountain, the water appears also to be a beautiful purple. In front of the fountain is a tall cabbage palm tree. The branches of a second tree at the left are also visible. The same Wells Fargo Bank building is seen once again in the far distant background. The final thought is expressed in the following manner. Friendship Fountain in St. John's River Park, the largest fountain in Jacksonville, is one of the city's premier attractions. Originally dedicated in 1965 and renovated in 2011, the fountain reportedly displays, quote, stunning and incomparable beauty, end quote, especially at night. In the span of 60 seconds, some 3,500 to 6,500 gallons of water are pumped to a height of 100 feet, with 265 lights molding the water into a sparkling mist. Photo courtesy of Ryan Ketterman for Visit Jacksonville and the Beaches. Thank you for listening to the audio version of the May-June 2017 BVA Bulletin. This concludes the reading of the issue. Of the issue. Of the issue. Of the issue. Of the issue.